Alrighty, and we're back. Kyle and Blake, Real Estate in Different States, episode 6. I know last week on episode 5, we promised our first guest would be in episode 7, but surprise for y'all, we actually have our first very special guest on episode 6. So please welcome the beautiful Diana Hutto.
Oh, snap. There she goes.
Hello.
Yes. Let's do it. The Diana Hutto on Real Estate in Different States, surprising everybody, including me. This is crazy. Wasn't even expecting it, but I'm excited. So, Diana, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us your background. Tell us how you got to where you're at, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, hello, I'm Diana. I'm Blake's better half. Just a brief little background. I was born and raised in Mont Belvieu, Texas. Probably don't know where that is. But education is really all I've ever known. I went to college, got my bachelor's education. My mom taught for 35 years. My aunt taught for just many years. And so like in my head, that's where I was at. Like, I'm going to be a teacher. That's what I want. And then I eventually got my master's in education and special education, actually, while I was working. Was not easy. I think originally I thought it would be easier than what it was, but when you work a full-time job, especially with children, which I loved that. But you're exhausted by the end of the day, but guess what? You got to do school after that. So that's where I was at for about 2 years. So I got my master's in special education, and then I continued teaching, and which led me to, I finally wound up in Barbers Hill, and that's where I taught second grade. I wanted to be in Barbers Hill because that's where I grew up, but it takes a while to get in here, and that's where I wound up, and then
Oh, Diana, do you mind if I stop you for just a quick second? Because I have a few questions about some stuff you mentioned that I feel like our viewers need to know. You're like rapid firing, like, it's awesome. Everybody loves it. But so number one, so you already had a bachelor's degree, right? Because you have to have that to become a teacher, right?
Mhm.
So if you're already a teacher, what's the point of getting your master's? What motivated you to do that?
Okay, that's a great question. So I feel like other people that aren't in education, they really don't know like what it takes to be a teacher. It's not only, yes, you have to go to college for 4 years and then wow, you're a teacher. You have to pass tests, and it's not easy. And really what motivates, I was young, I'll be honest. I didn't have any children, and I was always a go-getter. And so I'm like, well, why would I stop with my bachelor's when I could make myself a better teacher, make myself a better educator, and get my master's? And in my head, that sounded like a good plan. And sometimes, like, it was a good plan, but it was hard and it was not easy. And there's a lot of teachers out there that do that, and it's not always known. But when I was doing that, like, I would be a teacher during the day, and then from like 8 to midnight, I was a student. And there's, like I said, teachers out there right now doing it, and it is hard, and people don't always know, but I mean, that's just in my head what I wanted to do, and I did it.
Yeah, I mean, to work all day and then go home and study and get your degree till midnight, and just to wake up to have to go back to work, you have to be extremely motivated. So I commend you on doing that. So extremely difficult. So I have one more question for you. What made you get your degree? You said special education is what it was in. So what motivated you to do that?
Okay, so in my head, my thought process was I'm going to be in the classroom for X amount of years, and then it's either I'm going to go like the special education route, which would be like a DIAG, which is the route I went, or you can go like the principal route. but I figured in my head that I could reach more students and make more of an impact the way
Nice.
I went. So that's the way that I went. And so it was like a 2-year program. And when I finished, I wasn't done yet. I decided to get my additional certification to be an educational diag, which was extremely hard. And I know that I worked with a person that actually just did this recently. And so it's very hard. So I commend all educators that are able to do that while working. Um,
Can I ask you one question?
yeah.
What is a diag? Because
Okay. So that is a person that does like assessments on children to try to figure out, you know, a placement for them. So like if they're struggling in a regular placement in school, then I would come in, or an educational diag would come in and kind of say, hey, let me do some tests on you. Let me see where you would fit best. Or, you know, if they should be in a regular classroom, then you try to figure out different ways to kind of fit them in so they excel.
okay, I had no idea what that was.
I didn't either until I met her.
But that sounds really interesting. That's awesome that you were willing to do that. So, but do you have anything else to say about your background before we move on? And I don't want to cut you off.
No, I mean, ask me any. I know you're eager to ask me some questions, so go ahead.
I don't want to jump the gun. I just want to give you an open door to say whatever about your background. I don't want to cut it off too short. Absolutely. If you have anything else to say, you can. If not, I'm happy to jump in, and it's up to you.
Jump in, boy. What you got?
All right.
I'm excited to hear what you got. Maybe I'll learn something new that'll, win me over.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, all right. So Diana, teacher, left to do real estate, like completely different things, right? Nothing in common. Master's degree. I mean, last time I checked, I don't know, but I was like Googling how to be a real estate agent last night, and it was like, just go get your license. Age requirement 18. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
thought I had to have a
Mom's
master's.
not listening.
No, but all jokes aside, appreciate everything you've done. Sure, you've impacted some kids along the way for sure. So with that said, I mean, what made you, I mean, you already talked about how much you invested, how much time it took. So you're talking maybe 5.5 to 6 years of education, right? What made you decide to leave all that, with the kids too? It's not just, your time, it's also the impact you were making to leave that to pursue a career in real estate.
Well, I mean, being a teacher is hard, and I will fight for educators all day long. Really, what kind of made it a deal for me was when I had my own children, because before that, they were like my students were my children, and even after that, they were. But it was to the point where, like, we had our first child in 2020, which was right before the COVID pandemic hit, in February 2020. And so when we had her, I went on maternity leave, and then school went remote. And so during that time, I was on maternity leave. I wasn't getting paid, which educators can feel that. We don't get paid during that time. And so in my head, I'm like, well, I have a newborn, but I can get paid again and just be a teacher virtual, which is what I did. But that kind of robbed me, I would say, of the newborn stage for my daughter. I definitely felt guilty for that. But we did it because that was the time where Blake went, kind of quit his job. And so I was like, well, I'm going to help because you're not getting a steady paycheck, and I'm going to go back to work. Not really go back to work, but, on the computer. And my mom would come over, Blake would help watch Scarlett, and I would teach virtual, which, I mean, virtual is like a whole new world to the education world anyways, but it was hard to do that because, as I said, I had a newborn. But we did it because that's what I felt like we had to do. and educators could do that also.
So was that, you said virtual, so was that, you might have mentioned, I might have missed it, but was that during COVID?
That
When
was during COVID. That was when COVID like hit the high spot. And so school here just, they stopped meeting in person because I had a person that was taking over my classroom when I left. And then all of a sudden it was like, no, we're not doing face to face. We're going to do on the computer. So that's when I was like, well, I can do that. But at the same time, like I just had a baby.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very weird timing. Scarlett was
Yeah.
born in February, and then Dinah was supposed to go back kind of after spring break, and then right after spring break is when they started the virtual in
So it
2020.
was a tough time. And then I think you mentioned that was also whenever Blake, you were transitioning as well.
Yes, well, I made the switch in the summer. I just hit 3 years of self-employed about 2 or 3 weeks ago in June.
Wow. So man, that had to be like a crazy stressful time for you guys, huh?
It was
Yeah.
Would you
Yeah.
say that's like the most like stressful time of y'all's life? Like
Yeah,
that,
baby, a
right?
switch from a steady job to non-steady job, and
And then
COVID,
COVID hits.
something that no person had ever experienced before that was ever, in living in our time. So yeah,
Mm.
it was a weird time.
Yeah, that's, dude, I commend both of you guys for going through that. That's insane that you guys made it through it, but not only made it through it, now you're prospering. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Do you got anything else with that or?
I was just gonna say, we had a baby in 2020 and then we had another baby in 2020. So yeah, we had two babies.
Sorry about that.
So that was kind of once I realized after Stetson, our baby boy that was born in December of 2020, I had two babies that were obviously counting on me, that I was losing time with them. And so I think that's really what did it for me. Because the last year I was a teacher, my kids were in daycare and I would pick them up and I would spend 2 hours with them a day. And that was hard on me. And so I realized then, and I talked to Blake a lot about it, but I was like, I have to make a change for my children. And, not that being a teacher was anything that, it's just in my head. I was like, I have to do something that I don't miss a thing with my children. Because Blake was, and I commend him on this, he was waking them up every morning. I laid out everything, but, it was him. They would see him, they would not see me. And that hurt me. And so I talked to Blake and I was like, what can I do? I have to do something that's more flexible for my children. And so that's kind of what really just broke it for me, like to make the change.
No, that's so awesome that you said that because, man, a lot of people looking at outside in, seeing teachers leave, because I know a lot of teachers that leave for real estate, and a lot of the assumption is that they do it for the money, right? And the fact that you did it for your kids is just amazing. I love that so much.
Yeah, she pretty much had one shot, which was our main factor. We pushed out two kids. She pushed out two kids in a year.
I didn't even think you could do that. Like,
So
Me neither.
yeah, we didn't either.
give me the, how does, honestly, all right, side question. I don't like, tell me how you have two
Okay,
kids.
I'm gonna set the record straight right
I'm-
now for anybody
Like, how
listening.
does that work, man?
Everybody was like, y'all didn't wait the 6
I'm
weeks.
pretty
No, we
sure
did.
you've never done that.
Yeah, we did. But we set a record and
So here's what happens when you love someone a whole lot, right? I'm kidding.
I mean, it worked out. But yes, at the time we were like, what? Like, we can't. There's
Yeah.
no way.
So yes, we wanted two kids. So when we had two kids in a year, we both knew that our time was limited. Our original goal was, 2 to 3 years apart, maybe 4. But when we had two kids in a year, it was like this is both their newborn stages at the same time. There's no more after this. This is it. So these are the years, these are the 5 years that are very, very precious. So whatever it takes, we got to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't mean
So-
to tell that in a story, but it was
No.
obviously both of our decisions.
Yeah.
I
and
mean,
I begged-
you're
I
their
begged
dad,
her.
right? Like,
Yeah.
right?
And
Oh,
also,
I think it's-
she would come home kind of grumpy.
Yeah, I would come home
And
kind of grumpy.
I think all teachers come home kind of grumpy.
Oh yeah, okay, so I'm gonna touch on that. Like as an educator, it's not like most jobs, like you don't leave the classroom and it's like, I'm done. It's like you're weighing everything. You're weighing, oh, this child, and you just talk to his family, they don't care. And it's like you're talking, and it's just like it is so much. And people really need to respect teachers more. I'm gonna say it than they do. And of
Yeah.
course they need bigger pay, but teachers do. I mean, I'm not the only person, but like I have bought clothes for my students before, and I'm not the only person that has done that. But I mean, it's just what goes into it. And so it's just that just weighs heavy on you as an educator.
Yeah. Well, I think that's awesome, Diana. I mean, thank you for sharing all that. For sure. I just commend both of you guys for making the jump, especially during an extremely tough time in America, for the world. Everything was crazy. And you guys had a crazy thing going on in your lives. Like, I can't imagine the stress level in both of you,
It
honestly.
was on a strict budget, like
It
a
was a very
strict
strict budget.
budget.
So yeah, we had Scarlett.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
had Scarlett. I quit. Then we hear that we're having another child. So then we have to move because we didn't have enough room for another child. I just quit my job. And obviously, being a mortgage loan officer, I knew if you're self employed, you can't get a loan for at least 2 years. You have to have 2 years tax returns when you're self employed. So we're like, okay, this is crazy. Now we have to buy a house on just Diana's teacher salary. Well, Diana's teacher salary was cut a little low, as she said, because she was in maternity leave and she wasn't getting paid during maternity leave. So then we had to find a house within budget during maternity pay. So it was just a very crazy time. If you think you can't do something, you can do it. I promise. 2020 was the year where we figured out there is no obstacle that we cannot overcome.
Yeah,
And now you can do anything. Like, you can do anything you want.
And as I said, I just celebrated 3 years self-employed about 3 weeks ago. Dinah just hit 1 year today.
Oh, yeah. Let's celebrate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we also had to buy a new car too
Oh, and a
because
new car. Yeah.
my car would not fit
We had
our
to.
children. And so yeah, it was like one thing, and we were like, oh my gosh. And then my head, I'm like, I'm never gonna be able to not teach. But my mom found this house currently that we're in, and it was a fixer upper, and we fixed it up while like 8 months pregnant. We were living through it. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, if you think you can't make it work, you can make it work.
We made it work.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. You guys are killing it. Proud of you guys. It's so amazing to see like my friends doing so well. But I do have to ask you another question, Diana. So, crazy time in your life, right? Everything's going on, COVID, babies in 1 year. Didn't even know. I mean, last I thought it was 18 months when you had to have at least.
Yeah,
But you had 2 in 1 year. I don't know. You had 2. Blake's transitioning as well at the same time, right?
Yep.
Somewhere in there. And then so you left teaching, guaranteed money, and we're in a good school district, right? Barbers Hill, is that one of the top paying districts in Texas?
Mm-hmm.
So you leave, right? All that experience, degrees. Were you scared? You have any fears?
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, Blake and I talked about it. I prayed about it so many times. As I said, like it takes experience to get into the school district. And I was like in that grade level, second grade, where people don't want to leave. And so I knew in my head, like, if I leave here, I may not get this back. But at the same time, I knew in my heart, like it was something I had to do. Oh, I don't even know the word, like terrified. Yeah. Because as I said, education is all I've ever known. So it's like I kind of just threw all those books out, and here comes real estate that I really have no idea what I'm doing except for like I watch HGTV and Selling Sunset, but I see my husband doing it. And so I'm like, well, I mean, we can be a partner. But I was scared because you always have that thought in your head, like if I leave something that I'm good at, what if I suck at this? Or, what if people don't think that I'm good at this? Because I mean, we all know there's a ton of realtors out there. What will make me stand out? And so, yes, I was terrified. Didn't really know if I'd pass the test the first time I did, but I mean, there were so many emotions, but I did it, and I have no regrets at
Yeah,
all.
that's awesome. I mean, you mentioned Selling Sunset. I have to ask you random question. Did that influence you at all, or are you just like,
No,
hey,
okay. The only thing that influenced me was like, okay, when I show some houses, I'm gonna have to be wearing some cute outfits. But other than that, no, not really, because I mean, is that real life around here? I mean, our real estate market versus where they are is not the same. Um,
so
but
it didn't matter
it's
you
a
at
fun
all?
show to
You
watch.
were like a smidge like, that sounds cool. I could do that.
Yeah, I
She
mean,
just liked how they dress.
yeah, but they
Like,
didn't
it's
start out like that.
Louis Vuitton.
But they didn't
Yeah.
start out like
I
that.
know.
Yeah.
She liked the original Selling Sunset. If you see them these days, they all look plastic.
I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Because I mean, as I said, like when I could watch any show or any station, it was HGTV, like Flip or Flop, like that was me.
Yeah,
Thinking
me
I
too.
could, hey, I'll watch this episode, like I'm gonna be able to do this.
Yeah,
Um,
that honestly, that was me. That's what motivated me to get into my field that I'm in as well. I do have to say one thing. So I did see there is something out there called Selling Dubai, but for some reason there's only one episode. But that thing, man, it hit hard. It was so good. I was like,
there's
man,
only one episode.
I don't know what happened. Like, I can't find anymore. But it was so good. I was like, man, this is amazing. I
Yeah.
want to sell real estate in Dubai. Like you think California and stuff like that's crazy.
Mhm.
Dubai was like they're making like 400, 500 grand on their
That's crazy.
commission.
Yeah.
And the houses are insane. It's crazy. But that's neither here nor there. So but I guess I'll go to another question for you. So you left teaching, set salary, right?
Mhm.
I'm assuming you guys had a family budget, or you at least know your expenses, right? And then Blake was transitioning around the same time, so his income had to be.
So I just want to get the timeline straight. I was 2020 June. She was last year, July 2022.
Okay, so you were already 2 years.
I was 2 years in self-employed.
So your income was not steady, but it was, you probably had a book of business that's like at least a little bit predictable. You can at least know you're gonna pay your bills type thing.
At the time, well, being in real estate, last summer was not the best there was.
Yeah. So it's still stressful.
But
Yeah.
when you first started, it was like the refinance.
Oh yeah,
boom.
in 2020, June 2020, the
yeah.
refinance boom. We had a little nest egg, just in
Yeah,
case.
I think we covered that though when you first
Yeah,
transitioned. You
we
had
did.
the refinance boom, so that was not the same timeline though. Whenever Diana transitioned, it was
No,
a
we're
year
2 years.
later,
Yeah,
right?
2 years apart. Yeah.
2 years apart, so we're past the refinance boom. We're past all the big money coming up real fast. Now
Yeah.
you're lead genning, having to get your own business. Diana's quitting.
Yeah, no, Diana popped in when rates were about in the sixes. I popped in when
Okay.
rates were in the twos.
So big, huge difference right
Huge
there.
difference.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Huge, like that's night and day. So
When she got in, uh, a, when I got in, a $400,000 house would have the same note as when she got in as a $280,000 house because of interest rates.
So that's it. That's a crazy difference. Like,
Yes.
right there. So with that said, so with the timeline, the timing, how you jump from teaching to real estate, I mean, did you guys as a couple, knowing that's coming, do anything different? Because we also talked about this, I think it was episode 1, like of like what you should do financially. If
Yeah,
you
yeah.
like, what did you guys do? Because we did talk about what you did when you left, but we haven't talked about like, because Diana, you left making in your school district and you're making good money. It's not like it's
And 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 I had benefits, which I carried, like my children on.
that's a whole nother point. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing too. It was
It was
like,
very, that was one of the main, deciding factors was.
yeah. And
So
so
yeah, touch on that if you don't mind, like financially. How did you guys, because you got to think about that's a big jump. Not only are you making money, W-2 income, but plus the benefits, health insurance. Like, talk about that. So now you're both real estate. Where do you, well, number one, how'd you financially prepare to make the jump? Number two, how'd you compensate or what did you do different with your health insurance? Because that has to be like a big factor as well. I mean, you're talking,
Mhm.
I know what I pay, and it's like,
Yeah. I guess I'll take this question just because I'm the numbers guy and I do all the financing and banking. Well, also because I worked in the bank for over 5
Yeah,
years. Well,
that is your job, Blake. So
that is my job, and I'm very good at that job. Um, so yeah, that was one of the main factors was, so I was already on my own insurance for the past 2 years, and Diana carried herself, Sutton, Scarlett, and Stetson. So she had all 3 kids on her insurance because once you get on a family plan, it doesn't matter if you have 1 kid or 3 kids, right? So she carried all 3 kids, but whenever you add your husband for some reason, it like doubles. It was insane. So I stayed on my own because it was actually cheaper for me to be on my own. It was not good insurance, but I go to the doctor maybe once a year for like an annual checkup, if that, just because they call me sometimes and tell me you need to come in. So I don't really use insurance, so I didn't care. It was not good. So anyways, yeah, that was one of the factors. I contacted my insurance broker, and I'll give her a shout out, Rebecca Green, from Baytown. And anyways, yes, it took us up to like 12, almost $1,300 a month just for self-employed insurance for all of us. It's a lot.
that is a lot.
It is a lot. So yeah, you got to factor that in. Plus, yeah, we didn't. I mean, she was going from like after taxes, after her, it's not called a 401k, whatever the teacher's thing is, 403b.
So
No, that's FHA.
had 1,200 to 1,300 a month. Is that what you said?
Yeah, 1,300 a month for insurance.
So times 12, your numbers, guys.
It's like 15,000. Yeah.
So put that on top of whatever Diana was making. That's
Yeah.
what her real salary was.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, maybe not, maybe a little less.
Well, I mean, she paid. She did get. She got deducted for insurance, but
Yeah. But I think that's a factor people don't realize. Like,
correct.
once you quit, once you're out that government system that they want you to be in,
Yeah.
and they want you to be in it. I guarantee that's why there's so many tax. Like, they want you to be in a
Mhm.
W-2.
And one thing I do love about teachers and the teacher system is they have TRS, Teacher Retirement System, or Texas Retirement System, whatever it is.
Sounds good.
That is not the IRS taking
Sounds
their
like-
money. That is not Social Security taking their money. Teachers do not pay into Social Security. I personally believe we are both 32. All of us are 32. We are not going to see Social Security in 33 years.
No, yeah, you're not.
If it
I
lasts,
mean, well, you might, but you don't plan your retirement on.
no, which a lot of people do, but
They
there's
do.
Social Security is there, so it's already taken out of other government systems, right? It's not the boomers and the numbers aren't right. Anyways, I don't need to get into that. That's not what this is about. But TRS does not put any money into the IRS. So
Yeah.
anyways, that's why I really like teacher retirement system because they'll probably actually get their money back.
Well, and like my mom, as I said when I started this, she taught for 35 years, and with her retirement, like she is making, I mean, pretty much what she was making as a teacher,
she is.
because that's all the money that she put in, and so, I mean, that is a benefit too.
I don't even know how I got off that. I think I just started rambling. Sorry. What was your original question? Oh, how did we prepare? That's right.
Yeah, financial. Well, like yeah, financially, how did you guys prepare to leave? Like, did you save up a nest egg? Well, you already mentioned you had a nest egg.
Yeah, so the refi boom did us good. We, as we've talked about on other podcasts, we shop at Aldi's. We went to Aldi's today, literally today, and when we walked away, we had a cart overflowing, and it was still in the 200s. And Dinah was like, she took the kids away because you have to bag your own groceries, and she was like, "Did you say 200?" I was like, "Yeah." If we went to HEB, that would have been 5 or 6. I'm just saying, it was overflowing with food.
So, so you guys didn't have to like. It wasn't like Diana's quitting her job. It wasn't like, hey, we know our monthly expenses. We have to do X amount of these saved up. It was like, hey, we have a good amount saved up. We're just gonna try to be smart with our money and make the jump. It was like, is that how it was, or do you
Correct. Yeah, we just had to be very smart. I'm still driving my truck. I'm over 5 years with that bad boy now. Dinah had to get a new car. She didn't have to. She had her previous Jeep for over 5 years.
I know the Jeep. That was nice.
It was a good Jeep. I miss it. It was a good Jeep, but and then I mean, if I told you my mortgage, it's sub $1,700 with escrow today. I mean, we live within our means. So,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think we talked about that. Like, and I think it was episode 1 or 2. The whole
Yeah.
thing's within your means, like if you want to make the jump. So kind
yeah,
of makes
yeah, we've kind of
you
talked
didn't
about
really
that.
have to, you weren't stressing too hard because I mean, first you made the jump and you were already within your means for you to make the jump because you wanted to provide, and then Diana had a good job and she made the jump too. So.
What else you got for D? We got 6 minutes.
Mhm.
We only
Surprise.
got 6
I
minutes
know, man,
left.
it goes.
Oh my gosh. Man, I got 2 questions left. I don't know if we can do. We can't
Alright.
do both. I know for sure we can't do both.
We're gonna have to bring her back on.
Man, no. We don't. Well, question 4: yes or no? What do you like better, real estate or teacher?
It's not a yes or no.
One word. One word answer. One word answer.
Real estate.
All right, boom, done. That was easy.
Give a brief 1 minute explanation.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, 20 seconds.
I mean, I love teaching, but real estate just gives me like the flexibility to spend time with my children, which was my main focus,
And you're
and my husband, who we spent all hours of the day together. But
How'd you say it like that?
real estate, okay, so no matter how good of a teacher you are, it like the whatever amount, like whatever year you're on, that's what you're making. Real estate, it's like the sky's the limit. Like I can go out and I can work as hard, like I can get so many deals, and it's just not set for me. And that's what I strived at. Like I don't want a set number. I want to go above it. And that's why I like real estate more.
I absolutely agree, and we can expand upon that so much and talk about that more, but we don't have time to go into that. I wish we did, but yes, there is something to be said getting paid versus how hard you're working,
Mhm.
Correct.
right? Not an hourly wage, not a salary. So 100% agree. But we only have a few minutes left and we'll get to our last question. Then we gotta do our, you know, piecing out deduction, introduction. I don't know, deduction. I'll call it that.
Exit.
There you go, exit. We gotta do our exit. That has to take at least like 30 seconds.
I think you just took the 30 seconds.
I think all right, Diana. So you only have about a minute and a half to answer this question. So I'm gonna say it real fast. Advice for any other teachers or anyone else working a W-2 job to quit and go into real estate, being an agent specifically.
Dang, that is a good question.
That is a good question. I mean, I just feel like if you're on a salary and you're having thoughts of, can I do more? The answer is yes. I mean, as I said, and as Blake said, like I was so afraid to make that jump because I mean, everybody is, I mean, we're human. Like we have that thought, like, what if we are not good? What if this is not for us? But my advice for you is first of all, pray about it. we prayed a lot. My parents prayed, and I feel like that's the number one thing. If you're having thoughts, that's probably from God that you need to go a different direction. And I mean, work hard. It's not easy. Real estate has not been easy. Not like I thought as a teacher. I just thought, oh my gosh, these people are selling houses. Like, it's so easy to make money. It's not. You still got to work, but it's a different kind of work. And I definitely recommend it. But I definitely think that if you're having those thoughts, then go for it. Go for it.
That's amazing, Diana. Thank you so, so much for being our very first guest on real estate in different states. Number one. Number two, next week, we have another guest coming, and he's not going to disappoint. He's going to blow your mind. But for now, we rolling out.
Hold on. I think we got to say a special thank you to our sponsors. We got Hutto Home Loans
Oh, there you go.
and Generational Home Buyers.
Home builders, bro.
I'm reading your shirt, bro.
Yeah, that's my old shirt.
And
It's all good.
Come on.
It's a sponsor too. I'll have two sponsored. It's all good.
Sponsored off.
Yeah. So yeah, generational home builders, Hutto Home Loans,
I do want to
generational home
mention
buyers.
real quick. If anyone actually makes it this far in the podcast, which I doubt they actually listen to us this long, but if they do,
Why? I feel like I did a good job.
next week we got a big surprise. This guy is a multi-millionaire.
Well, there you go. You done said it. You done said it. I was
Yeah,
gonna surprise everybody and ask him first if it was okay to say that. But boom, he is.
Did he say he's not okay with that?
We're about to find out.
Oh,
If not, I'll
I
have
hope he still comes on.
I'll edit it. I'll edit it if I have to. And I'll say that live too. I don't care. Hey, listen, guys. I want everybody to know, first off, we're doing this live. Well, not live, but we're doing it one film. We're not messing around. If we mess up, we mess up. We're human. But yeah, we do have a special guest coming on next week. One of my great friends. I'm not going to say his name yet. I want to, make sure he's 100% good. But yeah, if I want to put his business out there, but he's going to tell you a lot of stuff about his life. It's going to blow your mind. He's awesome. He's not even 40 yet. It's crazy. So, real estate in different states. That concludes episode number six, baby.
Peace out.
We're about to do lucky number 7. That's either sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. If you're in Vegas, it's not good.
On the first roll, it is.
Well, if I'm in Vegas, that's the only thing I roll. 7, boom. But hey, here we go, buddy. Peace out. We'll see you next week.
See y'all next week. Later.
7.